Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good, and also, too, talking about very important topics. We're honored to be joined by Marie Pizano. She's the CEO and founder of the MVP3 Entertainment Group. She's the producer of the film A Society in Crisis, A Family in Divide, which we'll talk about in a second. And she's also the author of From Barefoot to Stilettos. So, Marie, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, you do tremendous good for the Mid-South and beyond, everything from your films to music, your book. There's a lot to unpack, but when you talk about taking a stand and making a difference, you're really stepping in a big way, including this film, A Society in Crisis, A Family in Divide. But it starts obviously further back than that, even with your book. So give us a little bit of the backstory for what we're going to talk about, including ACEs, adverse childhood experiences.
Okay, so A Society in Crisis, A Family in Divide. That project, it is a documentary that we're developing right now. But prior to that, going back to the book. Okay, so I wrote my story From Barefoot to Stilettos. It's my journey. We all come through this world barefoot. We all stumble and fall, but at the end of the day, we could each rise up and stand tall and go find our yes. Well, I had to find my yes through divorce. I do talk about that. And there's so many of us that have been affected by divorce or know somebody that has had divorce and a family in divide. And what everybody should realize, a family in divide hurts all of us, really. It's hurting our economy. It's these children that have trauma. Divorce is the number one ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, which is a trauma. Through divorce, kids can, get an ACE. Basically, ACEs are neglect, abuse, a parent incarcerated, substance abuse, divorce, so many different traumas that a child could experience. But as we know, unhealthy children become unhealthy adults making unhealthy choices. So we've already experienced, enough here in Memphis. We're seeing, like what's going on in the news, young to teenage shootings, drug addictions, all of that. And that's, a lot of these kids come from ACEs, homes and, not being developed in healthy ways. And one thing that I've noticed very significantly, because of not only my own experience, but seeing a lot of kids, and I'm also a domestic violence spokesperson and domestic violence victim advocate. So I was recently not only going through my own story with divorce, how the attorneys, let's just, be truthful, you're taking out of one pot, right? You have two sides, but one family. So you have two divorce attorneys and they're charging 5, 10, 15, 25, hundreds. We have people that have taken years, millions of dollars, doctors taken to the bank, you name it. We watch it on the, Hollywood. Look at all of them. They're products of ACEs, as well. And then they're, basically continuing the cycle. So I've seen a lot of this, and not only, with my own story, but what I had to do was channel what I call my anger to make something positive. If you want to make a change, you can't do the same thing you're complaining about. So I reached out to former Mayor Luttrell. He put me in touch with the Rotary Family Youth Initiative, and meeting Charlie Caswell, and what my focus was the family court, was that divorce part. We spearheaded the bill HB 2588, which now mandates parents who are divorcing must be educated on ACEs through their parenting class. Recently, what I did, I poked at the Board of Professional Responsibility. Now, for those that don't know what the Board of Professional Responsibility, they are the ethics. They make the rules, they oversee the attorneys. So to put pressure onto the attorneys, I wanted the board to put the ACEs trauma training into the CLE for attorneys. So they finally approved that. And the Rotary Family Youth Initiative will be giving those classes to these attorneys. So I encourage everyone. I mean, if you're going to get a divorce, make sure you have attorneys that are not going to drive you to the bank. And what most of people get into, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Jeremy. We can't, because we have major problems going on. There is a lot of unethical practice going on. What people don't understand, domestic violence is not just physical; it is emotional, verbal, and financial. So if you and me, just for example, are married and I want to get back at you, I'm going to financially abuse you, but you're in the War of the Roses state and you're not realizing you're getting manipulated with this. The attorneys, they just want billable hours. They always said, like, I mean, I've had attorneys that I begged them to get everyone to thrive. They said, well, Marie, if everyone did the right thing, I wouldn't have a job. And there was also, Marie, borrow, steal, whatever you got to do, get me the money to keep your kids. What are we doing here? It's like the wild, wild west, in juvenile court, but this family court system, we really technically don't have one here. We operate differently than the rest of the state, actually. So with this project, I'm going to take a deep look. I'm going to show you why overall we have a family or a society in crisis, but really take a deep look at the home, at the family court system. Overall, it's a $50 to $100 billion industry. What is it about family? Does it help? It destroys. So when you're shutting down people's companies, when you're in this divide, this hurts employees, this hurts our whole community. And when a child is stressed out, the school's hands are tied, the police hands are tied, because the attorneys are playing the games and filing back and forth, and no one could get in front of a judge. So that's how the police hands are tied. And then the police are used. What people don't understand, how much pressure the police do have and what they can't do, because if they don't get a court order or there's not a parenting plan in place, there's nothing the police can do. And the police are used for this narrative, just like someone could call Child Protection Services if I want to get even with you, if I'm married to you, and then that's a whole nother trauma on the children. So there is this definitely going on, and it's all zip codes. I'm seeing children in Germantown, Collierville, Bartlett area, they're traumatized. They're just in bigger homes, right? But it's across all zip codes, Jeremy, and we all have to recognize this. We all have to become a trauma-free, trauma-responsive community. I mean, the police have to be, careful with mental illness, out there. Well, these kids, they're going through so many different things. And if we don't heal this family, these families that are in divide, and hold accountable these attorneys, it's basically like a corrupt system. It's a broken system we have to fix. So
one of the things that was interesting to me is one of the stories that you follow is a mother who's trying to get out, but if she takes her child, in many cases, out of an abusive situation, the child can end up right back in the abusive situation. So that's another area that I think is interesting that you explore, is removing the child from an abusive situation. And if the mother escapes, sometimes the child can't come with her.
No, there's several of these girls that I've been working with, but I mean, what I just recently saw was an attorney and his client filed to juvenile court. Just said mother is mental, psychiatric issues, homeless, so untrue. Went to the court, the judge magistrate, this was not under Sugarman, signed off on it. They took the child away from the mother. The mother was not notified by the court, of whatever filings. They had a fiat, by the way. It's called a fiat, where they, behind her back, went to the court and where she couldn't take the child out of the home, or else she was in contempt of court. So this is scary. This is scary for all of us. And say if the mother takes the baby to a domestic violence shelter, and you're going to take the baby out of the home because someone said so, and then she's got to prove herself. I mean, this is really insane and dangerous for all of us. I mean, this is why I want to bring awareness. This Esther law will definitely redefine the way divorces are handled, but I'm putting an Esther Plan into place and an Esther Fund. An Esther Plan is, we have right now Agape, Overcoming Abuse God's Way, 3 different churches, attorneys. We have business organizations like Duncan Williams, are helping put a wealth management plan. A lot of these young girls, they're getting jobs, and we're putting a whole plan for them so they could get an apartment, have the legal help. That's where the Esther, fund comes in. And right now, someone could donate to call the Germantown Independent Bank, Ashley, and donate to the Esther Fund, and it'll help, girls in need. So it is very much I just have to say it. I mean, what I've been through, what I see, our kids are, I mean, you could be angry, but adults have to be responsible. And what I found out, I mean, through the years, not only therapists, but a lot of these therapists are in the pockets of attorneys. They paint this narrative that someone's crazy. Think about the child that is parental, alienation. One parent becomes the visitor, the other one becomes the parent, and that child really needs both parents. Or else it's a broken, I mean, if you talk to Judge Chris Kraft, he's in criminal court. You go back and talk to Kevin Reardon. I've done, many interviews with him. He was the prosecutor. These kids don't even have fathers. Think about how many fathers are not deadbeat, but they're dead broke and they're in jail. And think about the fathers that a lot of African-American fathers, they're in this cycle that once you get incarcerated, you go to a job, it's already marked. It doesn't matter if you didn't make child support. But again, how does it make sense when you're taking from both parties? There's no money for child support, right? You're stressing out the family. There has to be a different way to handle all this. Yeah. I mean, even these attorneys are going to have to put pressure on their peers to do the right thing. But it's like good cop, bad cop. There's good attorney, bad attorneys. And again, it's a broken system. We all got to be aware.
Well, you mentioned Ashley at Independent Bank with the Esther Fund, and that's 901-842-1196 to be a part of that with the Esther Fund. And that's Ashley at Independent Bank in Germantown. 901-842-1196 is the number to donate there. Talk about how the community can get involved, because obviously you've mentioned a lot in terms of raising awareness, understanding ACEs, kind of pushing on those sides. But how can we help be a part of these efforts?
Well, I would really like people to go to the website, societyincrisis.com. You could get a lot of information there, but also you could help sponsor, with it. Everybody could be involved and get credit in the film and be part of, what we're doing. And also there's a Facebook page called A Society in Crisis Project. We just started that. And so we're going to be putting events there. We'll have free ACEs, trauma training, and education. We'll have all these different events going on to, help the community. And we're working with Charlie Caswell, working with the Rotary Family Youth Initiative, but also attorneys are coming to I have a private event that, we will show this on Facebook Live, but meeting with judges, attorneys, legislators, so you could hear the discussions for change and see those that are, helping. Like, there's an attorney out there, Kevin Snyder. He actually does a Facebook Live, and you could ask him questions. I want people to realize, I'm going to put education out there from these attorneys and judges and legislators, and also other ways you could get involved, YWCA, Agape, Mariah House, Overcoming Abuse God's Way. These are all organizations that get involved, help, these women or whatever. But there are men too, I have to say, men do get abused by this. A woman can make up anything. She could call child protection services, call the police, and say all kinds of things and paint a narrative and hurt a man, and again, all we're doing is hurting our children. And I want to encourage community to be a little bit kinder. When you see a child that is in divorce and you're picking a side, you're tearing down a whole family, and it does nothing to pick a side. Even friends, family, you got to start healing these families. We all got to heal that 4 and 6 year old in us, because that's where all the suffering's coming from anyway. And we got to empower, because if we don't empower ourselves, we're becoming manipulated. We're becoming weak as a society, as a community. We're not productive that way, so if we can empower and show a little kindness and love, I mean, it's not corny. It really isn't. I mean, we could really turn this thing around and be what we can't keep blaming and shaming and everything and doing the same thing that we're complaining about, but if we start healing this, I guarantee, and we all start finding our yes with mind, body, and soul, we're going to be good. And I just want to plug out there that we do have a campaign going out there with finding your yes with mind, body, and soul, and showing another film out there that's going to be free to the public at selected Malco theaters. So I just encourage everybody, come join us, let's create the change for sure.
Absolutely. Well, it starts with raising awareness, which is exactly what you're doing. And then, like you said, putting the kindness back in community. And so once again, the website is asocietyincrisис.com. So that's asocietyincrisис.com. Marie, thank you for all you do and for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.